Welcome to New York's number 2 sports show. The New York Yankees stay alive. They fend off elimination. They beat the Los Angeles Dodgers by a score of 11-4 in Game 4 of this series. And it got off to another bad start. Another Freddie Freeman first inning 2-run homer. But this time, the Yankees were able to break through, and the really big blow was a grand slam by Anthony Volpe in the third inning. That was the big moment of the game. Dodgers made it interesting. They cut it, they were down by 3 at that point, cut it to 1, but then the Yankees were able to tack on more. Austin Wells, he was the other big offensive star. It was the two of them, and two of the younger players on the team, bottom of the order, batting 7th and 8th, and it was really good to see them be the ones to contribute. Volpe, growing up a Yankee fan, must have been a really, really big moment for him, obviously. And they find a way. Bullpen was really good, as it's really been the whole postseason. Luis Gil wasn't really very good, in my opinion. The best thing he did was give the Yankees 4 innings of work, so they didn't have to totally tax the pen. And the Yankees did ultimately take advantage of the Dodgers' lesser pitchers, although, to be honest with you, the big grand slam by Volpe was against Daniel Hudson, who, out of the 4 pitchers that were in this game for the Dodgers, he was their most high-leverage reliever. Ben Kasparius ended up getting the start, pitched a couple of innings, only gave up a run, probably should have given up more than that. And then Landon Knack was the bulk guy. Landon Knack actually ended up pitching very well. 4 innings of 1-run ball, and the only run he allowed was an Austin Wells homer. But then Brent Honeywell got absolutely demolished, essentially, in that 8th inning, which allowed Luke Weaver, who had already gotten 4 outs, for him to not have to go 7, which is really important. So, really good to not get swept, obviously. That would have been really embarrassing, and that's not how the series should have gone anyway. And look, it's hard for me to not go back to Game 1 and think this could very, very well be a 2-2 series. No question about it. That's not what it is, and you kind of just have to live with that. But yeah, what's tough too is, for example, Luke Weaver, the same situation presented itself in this game as last game, as that Game 1, where he pitches part of an inning, sits down, then pitches another inning, sits down. They didn't want to go with Weaver in Game 1 in the 10th inning up 1. They were going to go with Weaver in the 9th inning here. And again, good for learning from mistakes, but it still does make things frustrating in the past. But because the Yankees broke it open in that 8th, specifically a Gleyber Torres 3-run homer, it allowed them to go to Tim Meza. And, it gives the ability for Luke Weaver to just be a little bit more fresh, for Game 5 tomorrow night. So the Yankees, as far as the lineup was concerned, made a little bit of a switch. First off, Austin Wells back in there for Jose Trevino, which made a lot of sense, and Wells really looked so much better in this game. And they moved down Giancarlo Stanton and moved Jazz Chisholm Jr. up. Now, again, based on process, I agree with the having it be righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, so on and so forth. But what's tough is the fact that, really, if it were based on what we've seen in this postseason, it should have been Stanton 3rd and Judge 5th. It's never going to happen. That's what it is. But that was the change they made, and I would expect this to be the same exact lineup for Game 5. I wouldn't expect any changes. And the good thing about this win is that it didn't involve much of Soto and Stanton. It was not them. Like I said, it was really Volpe and Wells. Give credit to Verdugo as well, who certainly made contributions. That 7 through 9 was key. And then, of course, Gleyber, for what he did in the 8th inning, he really hadn't done much until that point. And for Judge, it was a step in the right direction. He ends up getting his first and only hit of the night in that 8th inning in a 10-4 game. But hey, as much as I could say on the one hand, okay, that's not really a high leverage pressure situation. What I'm somehow hoping is that that's just a springboard to getting him going in Game 5, but we shall see. But The Yankees find a way to get it done. And let's just jump into it. So, Luis Gil, he was the starter for the Yankees. And like I said, not a great outing for Luis Gil, but 4 innings is meaningful for sure. So 4 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, only 1 strikeout, and 2 homers allowed. And he would go up against Ben Kasparias, who was essentially the Dodger opener. He went the first 2 innings for LA. But in the first inning, just for me, total frustration as far as the way that this was handled. So a 1-out double for Mookie Betts, and just, the Dodger lineup, they make a little bit of changes, but it's the same crew, except, maybe some slight movement in the order. But Mookie Betts gets a 1-out double. And hey, credit to Mookie Betts, like one of the best hitters in the league. It was nothing that Gil did wrong. But then it's Freddie Freeman in a situation where he has absolutely killed you to this point. And I must say, Freddie Freeman looks unbelievably healthy. I mean, this guy could not move for most of the Padre Met series. Like, the guy was hobbling, and 1 week off did him wonders. He looks no worse for wear. Anyway, with a base open, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if you're not going to intentionally walk Freddie Freeman, you best fucking pitch carefully to him. What happens on a 2-1 pitch? It gets way too much plate. It's a slider that goes right into his wheelhouse, and he deposits it into the right field seats. That is his 4th home run of the series, and he broke George Springer's record, 6 consecutive home runs in the World Series for Freeman. So that's the last 2 games of the Braves series versus the Astros in 2021, and then the first 4 games here. You cannot let Freddie Freeman beat you. That was highly, highly disappointing. And luckily it didn't cost them today as far as wins and losses is concerned, but that's just, you can't have that. It's just not right. It's almost like, to me, in that Guardian series where Stanton kept on going and kept on going, it's like, and the Yankees were the beneficiary of that, but it's kind of a similar thing. You can't let it happen when it's this extent. So that made it 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the first, an interesting thing happens where there's fan interference on a Gleyber Torres flyout. Pretty funny stuff. I mean, from a Yankee fan perspective, where a couple of fans, one specifically, were like trying to grab the ball out of Mookie Betts' glove. It was the right call. He was out. I'm guessing that they were, ejected from the game, those fans, but it was funny. It's like, and at that point, I'm thinking, hey, that's more fight than the Yankees have shown to that point. But yeah, kind of a funny moment there. Then you get a couple of walks, Soto and Judge. But then Jazz Chisholm Jr. grounds out. I think his numbers running the score pitch in the postseason are like 0 for 13. So Jazz is actually looking better lately, but he only has 1 RBI in this entire postseason. So, that isn't great for someone who's batting in the middle of the order. And then Giancarlo Stanton grounds out. A rare night, even though Giancarlo did crush one of the outs, he crushed. And I'm not worried about him, but just, it was a rare quiet night for Giancarlo. And ironically, the Yankees put up 11 runs. But let's go to the bottom of the second. Things get a little bit interesting here. 1-out walk for Volpe, then he's still second. And that's huge for Volpe's game. He had a couple of steals tonight. Chisholm and Volpe, more than anyone, them getting on that could equal second base, like just a simple walk or single. That could equal second base and maybe even third. We've seen like that type of aggressiveness from them. So Volpe's on second and Austin Wells is up. And Austin Wells comes, like, honestly, a few inches away from a 2-run homer. And keep in mind, this Yankee crowd is just dying to erupt. But it goes on the top of the wall. But here's what makes it worse. Not good base running by Anthony Volpe. He was ready to tag. He ends up at third, which is pretty inexcusable. More bad fundamentals, more bad base running. Now, look, Volpe makes up for it tenfold, but that was really bad. And honestly, in my mind, while maybe not likely, there was a definite chance that maybe Wells ends up at third as well. So what could have been runner on third with a run in is second and third. Luckily, they get one of the runs in. Alex Verdugo with an RBI ground out. And that's just the funny thing about Verdugo is it's the ability to make contact that ends up working out. Look, he's been kind of like fortunate with some of these RBIs. And we'll talk about a really good at-bat for him later on. but he's able to get that 1 run in, and then Gleyber Torres flies out. So it's 2-1 Dodgers at this point. And then in the bottom of the third, Ben Kasparius is out, Daniel Hudson is in, which I found interesting, but it kind of made sense based on where it was at in the order. So he strikes out Soto, and then Judge is hit by a pitch. And then Jazz Chisholm Jr. with a well-hit single. Mookie Betts kind of got turned around. It was surprising to see Mookie kind of lose track of it, but he did a really nice job of getting it in. Also, good job by Judge getting to third. So it's first and third, 1 out, and then Chisholm steals second. So that makes it second and third, 1 out, and then Stanton works a walk. Bases loaded, 1 out, down by 1 in the third, Daniel Hudson on the mound, and Anthony Rizzo pops out. So disappointing there, So for Rizzo, who has really had a very nice offensive couple of rounds here since he, got on in the ALCS against the Guardians, but not great there, and not a great night for Rizzo at the plate. But Anthony Volpe, on the first pitch of the at-bat, takes a slider out to left field. A grand slam for Anthony Volpe makes it 5-2. This was the play of the game, turned everything around, and Yankee Stadium, just the top is blown off. And they needed it badly, really, really badly. So that's the first World Series grand slam for the Yankees since Tino Martinez in 1998. And those bring back really good memories. But really, really big for Volpe to get that done, and not for nothing either, but that's his first postseason homer as well. So to have a grand slam in the World Series at Yankee Stadium, that's pretty big. So 5-2 Yanks there. And then we'll go to bottom of the fourth. Landon Knack comes on for the Dodgers, and he got the job done. What was a little bit frustrating was Gleyber Torres was up in a spot where runner on first, no out. He has a 3-1 pitch, and he swings at it in what, it's funny. In looking at this now, I guess that could have been a strike. I thought live that it was more of a definite ball. Maybe not. Either way, Torres double play, so you could have something bigger there. And then the top of the fifth, with Luis Hill at this point, to me, he was getting hit kind of hard, but he was pitch efficient. But it kind of, it ends up not in a great spot in the fifth. Will Smith is able to hit his third homer of the postseason. It's an opposite field shot on an 0-2 pitch. To be fair, it was out of the strike zone, and Smith kind of went up and got it and took it out, made it 5-3. But then more of the frustration is Tommy Edman with a walk. And I feel like we've seen a lot of Tommy Edman walks leading into the top of the order. So Luis Hill is out. So what had the chance to kind of be like a pretty good outing really isn't. But again, not without its value of him getting through 4 innings. So now Tim Hill comes on to face that Ohtani, Betts, Freeman part of the order, which has obviously been interesting based on what happened in game 1 with them going with Cortez. They go with Hill, and Ohtani singles off the Hill. So I'll concede this one thing. For the actual Ohtani versus Cortez or Hill matchup, it does seem as if Ohtani does struggle more with Cortez. So again, for me, when it comes to game 1, I truly, truly disagree, and it bothers me with the Hill-Cortez move. The one that bothers me more is taking out Weaver in the 10th, for what it's worth. So it's first and second, 1 out. Again, keep in mind that, the Edman run is Hill's responsibility. Mookie Betts then grounds out. They get the force out at second to make it first and third, 1 out. And it seemed as if Tim Hill got Freddie Freeman to ground into a double play. However, Freeman beats it out upon review. Originally ruled out, overturned. Like I'm saying, Freddie Freeman, just like unbelievable ability to beat that out. Now, what helped him is Gleyber Torres with a pretty soft toss to Volpe. If Gleyber was a little bit quicker with it, a little bit more firm with it, they probably do get Freeman out. So it's those little things that cost the Yankees. And so that makes it 5-4. But to finish up the whole Tim Hill thing, it does appear as if Hill versus Freeman probably would have been the matchup you would have wanted. So Clay Holmes comes on, and give Clay Holmes a lot of credit. He gets Teoscar Hernandez to fly out. Bottom of the fifth, Yankees get a couple guys on. Aaron Judge reaches on a Tommy Edman error, and then Jazz Chisholm Jr. walks. But Stanton strike out, Rizzo fly out, Volpe fly out. So at this point, you're thinking, damn, like, Dodgers have cut it to 1. Yankees have had chances off Landon Knack to do stuff, and it hasn't happened. But Clay Holmes with a really, really big 6th inning. A 1-2-3 inning and a couple of strikeouts. So Clay Holmes, he actually gets the win. It's his 3rd win of the postseason. And look, Holmes in this type of role, in the 6th inning, like in that sort of range, he seems to be really effective. The later it is, it just doesn't seem to work out. But here, he's really been pretty good. And then Austin Wells with a really big insurance run. It's his 2nd homer of the postseason, first at Yankee Stadium. No doubt about it shot makes it 6-4. That was big. Then in the 7th inning, Mark Leiter Jr. comes on, and that's kind of another thing too. Leiter Jr. has slowly built up a bigger role, was not on the roster in the LDS, and only got replaced in the LCS by injury to Ian Hamilton. And that's one of those things too. If they took out in taking out Luke Weaver, obviously hindsight's 2020, you can only use the information you have at that time. They probably would have went with Mark Leiter Jr. over Jay Cousins. I tend to think that they would have, but again, that's what it was. And I'm not saying I disagree with that because, again, at that point, Cousins was coming off of a really good outing in that last game against the Guardians. Anyway, Leiter Jr. gets a couple of strikeouts, but with the Tommy Edman walk in between and a steal of 2nd. But he does get a big strikeout of Shohei Ohtani. I will say, Ohtani, I'm not sure if it's the injury that he's dealing with. He's not doing nothing, but that there's a lot more to be had there. Anyway, Luke Weaver is brought on to potentially try to get a 7-out save. And Luke Weaver was really, really good. He gets Mookie Betts to strike out there as the tying run, keeps it at 6-4. And then in the 8th, it's a 1-2-3 inning with a couple of strikeouts. So Luke Weaver throws 21 pitches. Like I had said earlier, he was going to pitch the 9th, but the Yankees break it open in the 8th, so he doesn't have to. So Luke Weaver, 21 pitches thrown, 3 strikeouts and 4 batters. He's as good as it comes, honestly. Bottom of the 8th, Brent Honeywell comes on after Landon Knack did a really good job. And with 1 out, Anthony Volpe gets a hustle double. Now, I'll say this. He was fortunate to be safe at 2nd. Teoscar Hernandez throws it in. They really basically get him out, but they can't quite complete the play as the ball goes out of the glove of, I guess Gavin Lux is probably who it was at the time. It would have been Lux or Edman, but I think it was Lux. And Volpe, it was kind of like incidental. The ball goes flying out, and so it ends up being a double. Then Austin Wells works a good walk. Again, Wells looked good in this game as well as Volpe. And then it's a double steal with Verdugo up. Volpe to 3rd, Wells to 2nd, which again changes the equation. And then Verdugo works a 10-pitch at bat. Infield's in. He grounds out to 2nd, but Volpe, who again had that base running mistake earlier, he was so quick with it, got a great jump, and it was not a perfect throw by Lux, and Volpe was safe at home. That was really, really big. So Verdugo, again, makes contact, allows the opportunity for them to score, makes it 7-4, and then Gleyber Torres with a really, really big homer to give the Yankees a 6-run lead. A 3-run shot for Gleyber, 2nd of the postseason. And when he's going to homer, typically, it's going to be at Yankee Stadium to right field, and that's exactly what happened. And then Juan Soto doubles, and Aaron Judge gets an RBI single. So again, not a very meaningful spot in the game, but maybe one for Judge that he can take with him to the next game. Makes it 11-4. Then in the 9th inning, Tim Meza is able to finish it out with a 1-2-3 inning, and the Yankees win it 11-4. We will have a game 5 and a couple of interesting sort of historical stats, I guess, if you will. In World Series history, when a team's been down 3-0, and I want to say that it's happened somewhere in the 20 to 25 range as far as the amount of times. It could be more than that, but pretty much along those lines. Only 3 times, now this is the 4th time, when a team was down 0-3 in the World Series, did they force a game 5? And here's the biggest shocker. Never in the history of the World Series, when a team was down 0-3, did they force a game 6? That really boggles my mind. And this was the first time since 1970 that a team down 0-3 forced a game 5. So I guess what it tells you is when a team's up 3-0, they're typically sweeping in World Series history. But so there's that, which is kind of cool. That the Yankees be the first team to do that. And I think that possibility certainly exists. So they're at home for one, which is, better than being in LA. So that's just one little thing. But the fact that it's Garrett Cole versus Jack Flaherty, you don't hate that matchup. Now, game one, it was there for the taking. Cole is not 100%, but he's still very capable of putting up a really good, solid outing. And that's what you need again. And you could use some length from him. Because look, the Yankee bullpen has been used quite a bit the last couple of nights, whereas the Dodger bullpen is going to be a little bit fresher in terms of their high-end pitchers. But look, the way I see this, there's a pathway to game 6. This can be done. And again, I wish that this was a 2-2 series. The feel would be completely different. The uphill climb is still very, very much there. It is. But hey, one down, and now it's the next one. That's all you can do. But again, what could have been is certainly still very much on the forefront and probably will be for some time, unfortunately. And I still do think the Dodgers are the better team. Don't get me wrong. But that all said, game 1 was just, they let it slip away. They just simply did. So Flaherty versus Cole at Yankee Stadium. I will be in attendance. I'm very much looking forward to it. It came close to it not happening at all, but I'll be there and hoping to walk out of the stadium not having witnessed the Dodgers winning the World Series in this game, and this series extending to Los Angeles in a game 6. So again, a big grand slam by Anthony Volpe to turn the tide. Gives the Yankees an 11-4 win. They stave off elimination. They're alive. They're still down 3-1. And now we will prepare ourselves for the last game at Yankee Stadium this season. Jack Flaherty versus the ace Garrett Cole with a chance to hopefully get the series back to LA. We shall see what happens in Game 5.